Hi there. Oh, sorry. No, could take two. Sorry, I'm a little tired. Sorry, Dan. Um, let's try this again. Taking two. Hi there. Welcome to a side series workout flow. Today's workout is going to be a full body workout at the beginner to medium level. I always encourage you to be mindful and connected to your body. We will be doing a lot of our work either on our elbow or on our hands and knees. So if you have someone coming with some shoulder problems or some knee problems, I would encourage having a knee pad. Or if you don't have a knee pad, what you can do is you can fold your mat over, and if you are not using a mat today and you're using a blanket or a nice thick beach towel, you can fold that over, give your knees a little extra cushion, extra love, or running and going and grabbing a couple of kitchen towels or like small hand towels and then folding those up to place underneath your knees or your wrists to give you some extra padding. I will always start with the most fundamental exercise, and I will always then add levels to that exercise. So if I'm asking you to do something today that just doesn't feel quite right for your body, I always encourage you to step back and go to the exercise we did beforehand. You can pause and rewind the video to see what the exercise was, and then join back in once your body is ready. Or doing something that feels within your realm for today. I am Andrew, your teacher here at Studio Blue, and I'm very grateful that you are joining me today. And with that, let's go ahead and let's get started. Yeah, I'm very excited. So let's start standing at the back of our mat. And we're gonna have our hands down by our side. My feet are hip width distance apart, and I just have the tiniest little bend in my knees. So I'm not locking out through the back of my knee and pulling up my quads. I'm just relaxing, nice bend, nice soft, fluid hold. It's not, I'm in a squat, a static squat. It's just chill. So I want you to imagine that your back is flat against a wall. And now from here, you're going to begin reaching your hand down towards the floor. So just reach one hand down. And we're going to bend through the side. And as you do so, I want you to just be aware of the ribs and the pelvis. Is your pelvis wanting to shift back? Are your ribs wanting to protrude forward? Just keep it nice and even. So I want you to almost think that you're between two panes of glass, or you're trying to keep your back and your ribs connected to this wall, this imaginary wall behind you. As you just reach from side to side. And letting the earlobe come along for the ride. As you just gently bend through the side of your body. And now from here, I am reaching down for my right side, but whatever side, I want you to flip the palm out to the side. Begin reaching that arm up and over. And we'll reach down the other side, swing that arm around. And then reach the other arm up and over. I'm going to go ahead and turn to face you so you can see as I'm moving through my body. I'm going to swing my arm around, place it back down at my side, flip the other arm, reach up and over, swinging down and around, reaching out with the other hand up and over. It's almost like I'm trying to scrape my hand to all of the edges of a bowl. It's like I'm scraping out the bits of ice cream scoop. One more, last one to this left side. And go ahead, let your head round forward, restack back to vertical. Let's go ahead, let's do a couple roll downs. So my feet are hip width distance. I'm gonna roll down, bending the knees as much as I need to here to bring my hands all the way to the mat. So I'm bringing both hands to the mat, bending the knees, and I'm just going to nod the head yes a few times. And if my hands can't reach my mat, I can always bring my hands on top of my above my knees and just nod the head yes. And then shake the head no. And nod the head yes. And shake the head no. From there, either you're starting with your hands on the ground or hands on the knees. Go ahead, scoop, rolling, drawing the belly button towards spine, rolling on up. And this time we'll roll all the way down again, bringing the hands to the mat, bending the knees as much as you need to. Walk the hands out and bend the knees to bring them down to the mat right away. So we're in a little quadruped position. So my shoulders are stacked right over my wrists and my hips are stacked right over my knees. And if you need to at this point, if this is a lot of pressure for your knees, you can take your knee pad, place it underneath. But from here, we're just gonna chill out here for a little bit. So I want you to do a couple cat-cows. So from here, begin rounding your whole entire spine. So draw the belly button in and up, rounding through the shoulders. And then from here, I want you to extend that upper back. So lift the chin, looking forward, feeling like you're almost pulling your heel of your hands towards your knees and opening your chest towards the front edge of your mat. I'm not completely dropping my stomach here. I'm still keeping it drawn in towards my belly button. And then from here, pull those ribs back into the body, round the whole entire spine. And then pull those heels of the hands towards the knees. Arch that upper back, lift the chin, find some upper back extension here. And rounding one more time, scooping and rounding. And then coming back into that flat or that arch. And now from here, I want you to go ahead. Let's sit back. Let's take a little rest position. So reach those arms forward. And then from there, go ahead, sit up on those knees, on those heels. So bringing your heels. And I want you to bring those hands to the mat. We're just going to do a little stretch here. So my hands have a little bit of pressure. And then I'm going to take my one hand. I'm going to bring the back side of my hand against the mat to stretch out the front of my forearm here. I have more weight in my hand that's connected to the mat. And I'm just giving gentle pressure to get a nice stretch here. And then go ahead, release that, shift the weight over to the other side, and let's do that other hand. So I'm placing the back side of my hand against my mat, and I'm making sure I'm not locking out through my elbow. So I'm not trying to hyperextend here, a little bend in that elbow so I can really focus the stretch on the back side of my forearm. And going to as much pressure as is tolerable, not going beyond into some place that is uncomfortable and painful. Getting a nice stretch here. So if you have to be here because that is too much, that is just fine. And if you can fully get the backside of your whole entire hand connected to the mat with a nice bend in your elbow, amazing. And from here, I'm going to keep my palm connected to the mat, but I'm just going to take my fingertips and begin rotating them towards my knee. So I'm now going to stretch the other side. This is quite a position for your hands. So if this if this isn't all the stretch you can do today, that is fine. But if you can get your hand connected, the palm of your hand connected to the mat, amazing. We're just going to stretch that back side of the forearm, so the other side now. And again, I have more pressure in my other hand than I do in this stretching arm. And I'm going to switch to the other side. So just rotating those fingertips back as far as my mobility and my flexibility will allow, and then putting as much pressure just to get a stretch, not to a point where I'm hurting my wrist, I'm hurting my forearm. And one side might be more flexible than the other. So just honor that, that imbalance, and don't try to force the other side to match. And then we'll do that again, going a little bit faster now. And then go ahead doing the other side, taking a nice inhale and exhale. And now from here, let's go ahead. Let's come back into our quadruped position. And since our wrists are, now that our wrists are nice and stretched, let's stretch out those quads and those legs. So we're gonna come back into that rounded position. I'm just gonna shift my weight forward where my shoulders are a little bit more over my fingertips, and then shift my weight back where my hips are past my knees. So just rocking back and forth, staying rounded through your spine. And of course, if you need a knee pad, I encourage you to have your knee pad underneath your knees. And now from here, go ahead, come into a flat back or a little arched back. Go ahead, tuck your toes. We're gonna do that again. So just shifting forward and back. We're just warming up the body here, people. So really opening up the joints, keeping those toes tucked, getting a nice stretch through the tops of the bottoms of the feet, and staying in your flat back, a little extension as you shift your weight forward. And let's go ahead, come back into that quadruped position, untuck those toes, and then we're gonna lift the foot up of one side. So I'm keeping my left side connected to my mat, and I'm just squeezing my glute and hamstring to lift my heel towards my glutes. And then I'm gonna lower that back down. Let's go ahead, do the other side and back down. Lift one side and lower it down, and the other. We're gonna hold this right side up. And now from here, I want you to begin to internally rotate. So I'm gonna reach my pinky toe towards the side of my body, and then I'm just gonna try to look over my shoulder and look for my pinky toe and just wave, say hello, pinky toe, and then let's go to the other side. So I'm going to look for my big toe, now going away, looking for that big toe, almost trying to look for the ankle. And as I do this, I'm creating a C shape with my spine through the side of my body. So that's the focus here, is we're just creating C shapes from the top point of view with our spine and warming up those sides a little bit more. One more time, side to side. And then let's go to the left. So place that foot down, bring that heel closer towards the glute on that left side, and then let's look for that pinky toe over the shoulder, creating the C shape through that left side of the body. Feel this lengthening through the right side of that body. And then the other side. And let's do two more, side to side. Looking for that big toe, seeing if you can almost see that ankle. One more time. Very nice. Go ahead from here. Let's go ahead, let's get into a little bit of work. So I'm gonna take my left foot, I'm gonna pivot my foot, and then I'm going to reach my right leg out nice and long. So I'm in a little side reach here, and then from here, I'm gonna go ahead, come up onto my knee. Again, if you need your knee pad, I'll go ahead, demonstrate with the knee pad. So we're square here, and I'm gonna take my foot slightly forward. So my foot is almost reaching for the front corner, so I can keep my hips nice and level here. And then you can see my shoulders over my hip, which is over my knee. And now from here, I'm going to reach my right arm along my right leg, and I'm just gonna reach over, get a nice stretch through that left side. And now from here, I'm gonna windmill my arms over to the left side, trying to reach out as long as possible, but keep those fingertips up off the mat. And then let's windmill. Go back to the right, getting length all through this left side, reaching up and over, gentle pressure into that leg, and then windmill up and over. I'm gonna go ahead, place that left hand down. I'm gonna bring my right leg back into alignment, bring my hand behind my head. And now from here, I'm gonna lift my leg up and tap it back down. So I have gentle pressure with my top hand into my head, and this will allow me to close my ribs, because the tendency here is to allow those ribs to flare and be open. But I want you to keep that elbow in your peripheral vision, so you are one straight line from your pinky toe to the tip of your head. And we lift up and lower down. Let's go for 8 and 7, 6 and 5, 4, 3, 2, We're gonna hold this one up from here. I want you to kick your heel towards your glutes and extend out. And we'll go for 10, making sure that elbow, top elbow stays in your peripheral and really trying to keep that bottom hip forward here. We have our last 6 and 5 and 4, 3, 2. Last one, hold it out. From here, extend that top arm, float off, bring that foot down. Let's bring the knee down, stretch away, get a nice lengthening away. And now from here, I'm going to reach that leg back out, and we're going to do our side overs. So I'm going to shift my weight a little bit more towards that foot, but not so much that the center of my pelvis is over here. I'm still keeping the center of my pelvis just to the inside of my supporting knee, and my hip is still stacked over the knee. I just have a little bit more pressure in my right foot now. And now from here, I'm going to plug this arm in at my side and bring the elbow of my left elbow into my peripheral vision so I can close those ribs. Now from here, gentle pressure of that right hand into that right leg. Let's lean away. We're working those right obliques here. We're leaning away, pressing that hand, and then we lift back up. Keep those ribs closed. I know for me, my tendency is to allow my elbow to get back here and rotate, close those ribs, keep the elbow forward. Let's lean away and come back up. Lean away and up. Really working those right obliques here. A little pressure in that right foot, even as we lean away, so we can get that inner thigh. And we lift back up. Let's go for our last 3. And up. 2. And up. Very nice. Last one. We're going to hold this one out here. And let's stay here. Lift that arm up and lower down. Feel the work increase in intensity as we lift that arm up and back down. Maybe reach that arm all the way to the ear and back down. All the way to the ear. We're just holding statically through the side of our body as we lift and lower that arm. We have 3 more. And maybe on these last 3, add the left arm back down. We reach out and down. I'm almost trying to reach my fingertips away and down. Last one, out and in. Bring that knee in. Go ahead, actually, sorry, keep that knee out. We're going to reach that left hand to the floor, take that top arm towards the ceiling. Let's do a little stretch. So a dynamic stretch here. I'm gonna windmill my arm, 1, 2, and then on the third one, I'm gonna fold my knee in as I reach my arm forward, get a stretch all through that right side that we just worked. And let's open back up. So we circle 1, 2, 3. Reach and fold that knee in and open up. Let's go for 1, 2, 3. Reach that arm, fold the knee in. Really lengthen that right hand out so you can stretch through the side of the body. Opening up again. Let's go. Last one. 1, 2, 3, and reach. From there, go ahead, open out to the side. Now restack. Let's go to the left. So pivoting, coming back into your quadruped. And you will just open up to the other side. I'm going to turn to face the other way so you can still see me. So that right, both knees might be on the knee pad. And now from here, go ahead, coming into some cat-cows. So beginning here with arching and then scooping, rounding through that whole spine. Let's go ahead, rock the hands forward and back. So we reach, take the shoulders over the fingers, and then take the hips just beyond the knees. Reach those fingertips or those shoulders over the fingertips, hips behind the knees. One more. And back. And now from here, go ahead, pivot that right foot back behind you. Reach that left arm towards the ceiling. That left foot is reaching out to the side, slightly in front of you. Make sure this arm, you're supporting yourself from underneath the armpit. Let's go ahead. Come on up. And let's just adjust ourselves as we need to. So beginning with our stretch, our hips are nice and square here. A little bit parallel, making sure that your hip is right on top of the knee, the shoulders are right on top of that hip. And then from here, tiniest little bend of the knee, let's stretch away. And then stretch the other way. Maybe reach that arm. Let's go ahead and reach that arm down so we can stretch that top side of the body. And reaching up and away. And reaching out and over. Reach that arm out long. And press that hand through a bowl. You're trying to scrape your fingertips in the inside edges of a bowl. And from here, let's go ahead. Let's come into our legs lifts. So bringing that right hand to the mat so it's slightly in front of that knee. So you're one long line here. You're not taking it behind you and have to collapse. Keep that bottom hip open, reaching forward, and then bring that top hand behind the head. My elbows in my peripheral vision. I have not locked out this elbow. And then from here, I lift my leg up and tap back down. You can see my ribs are flared here. I'm gonna close those in by bringing my elbow forward. Let's lift up and lower down. Let's go for another 8 and down, 7 and 6 and 5. Last 4, 3 and 2. Last one, we hold it up. Now from here, just bend the knee and straighten it. So I'm trying to reach my heel all the way towards my glutes, giving my glutes a nice squeeze at the top, at the back there, and then extend out. We have another 7. If your elbow's opening up, your ribs will flare, like mine are. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, last one. Out, bring the foot down, reach out and up. Let's stretch, bringing that foot slightly forward, getting a nice stretch through the side of the body. Go ahead, bring that right hand behind the head, left hand gently pressing into that left leg. We're gonna go straight into our side overs. So, shifting our weight ever so slightly into that left foot, so that way our hip, it's still over our knee, but our center is just to the inside of the inner thigh. And now from here, gentle pressure, let's lean away and come back up. So leaning away and coming back up. Very good. So I'm almost thinking as I push, I'm almost thinking of pushing from underneath the armpit. It's not so much I'm pushing the heel, but I'm really trying to focus on the whole entire palm, pressing so I can get this activation through here, keeping those ribs closed. And I'm almost lengthening the crown of my head away before coming back up. And reaching away, crown of the head, trying to lengthen away from the pelvis. Very nice. And up. We're gonna hold this last one out there. So we hold out. You're either holding statically, or if you wanna go ahead, challenge yourself, lift that top arm, and we come back down. We'll go for 2. So just lifting the arm to 90 degrees, keep those ribs closed. Don't drop this elbow, lifting up, lowering down, maybe taking it to the ear, and down, and ear, and down. One straight line from fingers to toes. And maybe on these last 3, add the other arm, and down. We reach, and down. Use those left obliques, and down. Very good. Last 2, and 1. Very nice. Go ahead, stretch, bring that hand to the floor, reach that top arm, and we will windmill. 1, 2, 3. Fold that left leg in, reach that left arm, get a nice rotation around that spine. Take a nice deep breath before we open back up. Nice dynamic stretch here. 1, 2, moving from the shoulder and reach, fold that leg in, reaching long through that left side. And opening up again. We will rotate. 1, 2, 3. And opening up, last one. 1, 2, 3. And reach through that left side. Fold that left leg in. Opening up and coming back to your center. Very good. Go ahead, pivot yourself, coming back into your quadruped. We can step, take the knee pad away. And let's come seated, sitting up nice and tall, bringing ourselves sitting on top of our sit bone. So if you need to, move that flesh away so you can sit up nice and tall, bringing your feet to the top of the mat. And I want you to bring your hands to just behind your knee so you can sit up nice and tall here. So I have gentle pressure of my hands to the back side of my legs. And then I have a little activation in my hamstrings here and pushing them into my hands. So I can really use from under here, from back here, those armpit muscles, all the way through my tricep to sit up nice and tall. This will help offload your hip flexor here. If you're feeling a lot of grip in the front of your hip, go ahead, take your knees out to the side ever so slightly and try to sit even taller through that low back. Now from here, I want you to imagine that someone's trying to poke you in the belly button and you don't want them to. So scoop and draw your belly button away from that imaginary finger. Now, as you do this, don't allow your shoulders to creep up into the earlobes. Keep them drawing down the back. And now from here, I'm going to lengthen my arms as I take this capital C shape back in space, keeping those heels anchored to your mat. From here, take a nice inhale, exhale. Let's round on over and sit up nice and tall. So if you need to, lengthen those legs out so you can really keep those heels connected. And if you can't keep your toes, flex the heels. And then I want you to feel like you can give pressure into the heels, like you're almost pulling them towards your glutes. So you're keeping the weight there, if that makes good sense. But we really don't want to allow our feet to float up as we take our shoulders back. So only going so far back where you can control it with your abs and you can keep the heels connected. Let's go for a few more. So sitting up nice and tall to begin with, scooping and rounding away, keeping nice weight in my heels, shoulders out of the earlobes, taking myself back as far as I possibly can control. If I go back here, I can feel my heels wanting to lift off, so I'm going to stop here. Inhale, I'm imagining I'm taking an ice cream scoop to the front of the body, pulling my ribs back in. Let's round over and stack up. Last one, we scoop and round. Take the arms back. Now let's stay here for a moment. Let's float the right hand off. I want you to reach that right arm up to about the high diagonal. So really reaching out and then bring it back down. Bring it behind the knee. Let's go to the left side. Reaching that out, keeping the core connected here. And then let's go, maybe another one to each side. Feel like you're reaching, scooping those fingertips nice and long. And now let's do both arms together. Lifting to about that diagonal, not any higher. And lifting up and reaching long, keeping those shoulders nice and lifted. Don't begin to allow them to collapse and lean back more. We want to keep the pressure out of our tailbone here. And we reach out, grab behind the legs, round over. Sitting up nice and tall, lengthen those legs out. If you can't fully straighten your legs and sitting on your sit bones, go ahead, maybe grab an ottoman or a couple of textbooks or something that you can lift and elevate your hips up. You can even sit in a chair. But I want you to take your feet about mat width distance apart. Again, nice long back here. And I'm sitting right on top of my sit bones. I'm gonna reach my arms out long. We're gonna do the same thing, just going forward now. So we round over, taking the shoulders. I'm almost imagining that I'm rounding over a beach ball. As I reach forward, roll back, restack. We're gonna do that 2 more times. So we round over, restack, nice and tall. On this next one, we're gonna add a little variation. So if the variation, you're not feeling it today, just stick with what we just did, rounding over. And now from here, I want you to lift your arms to your ears and then come into a flat back on the diagonal, round over. Don't collapse into your flexibility and restack. So we round over. It's like you're rolling your hands along a beach ball. And then from there, lift those arms to the ears, lifting that upper back, rounding back over to that beach ball, restack, nice and tall. 2 more like that. We round over, reach out to the ears and up, reach those fingers nice and long to the diagonal, round over, restack. Last 2, rounding over, reaching out long, round back over. We're gonna hold this next one out. So we round over, reach out long, take the hands, bring them to a prayer position, maybe interlacing those fingers. And now I want you to reach the thumbs to the back diagonal behind you, pressing those palms together. A little bend in the elbows, and we'll do this for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4. Keep those ribs in. 3, 2, 1. Bring those hands behind the head. Let's go for another 10, taking those elbows. So close the elbows and reach them out. And we'll go for 8, 7, 6. Making sure you don't flare those ribs as you take those elbows back. Working within a range of motion that best suits you. We have our last 3, 2, 1. Reach those arms out nice and wide to the side. Round over. Bring your hands down and take a nice stretch. So from here, go ahead, roll on up, stacking up to nice and tall. Scoot your hips towards the top of your mat, bringing those feet back to the top of the mat. You thought, I forgot about this, but we're not quite done here. We just did all of that shoulder stabilization and work, and we're gonna place it here. So my feet are nice and heavy into my mat. If my feet feel like they're going to lift off, I just lengthen the distance between my heels and my glutes, pressing those hands ever so gently, getting the work out of the hip flexor. The hip flexor comes from the support for getting out of the hip flexor comes from where we just worked. Those shoulders all the way through the tricep, pressing into the back of the knee, sitting up nice and tall. And now from here, scoop and round away. We curl back. And now from here, reach that right arm. Try to bring it in line with the ear. And forward. Reach the left arm. It's all the way to the ear. And now reach both arms, palms towards the ceiling, thumbs going out to the side and forward. Let's do that 2 more times. So right arm, trying to come all the way towards the ear, reaching forward, the left arm, reaching up and forward, both palms towards the ceiling, serving a tray of tea to a party over here and a party over there, rounding, scooping, reaching those hands behind the knees. Last one, right arm towards the ceiling, keeping those feet nice and heavy, left arm towards the ceiling, palms towards the ceiling, thumbs out to the side, reach forward, go ahead, roll all the way down to your mat. Bring your heels a little bit closer. Very nice work. That was good abdominal, shoulder, sternum rib band. So the sternum rib band starts from the center of your back and it wraps just around to the front of the sternum. So it's that connection that separates our lower torso from our thoracic spine. Good support and work for there. So from here, I'm going to bring my feet flat to the mat. Hands are reaching for those heels. And I have my natural curve in my low back. So not so far where I can sneak my whole entire hand underneath, but maybe just my fingertips. And now from here, I'm going to pull my belly button towards the spine and I'm going to imprint my low back from my abdominals. And now from here, I'll press my feet into my mat and I'm going to begin lifting my hips up. From here, I take a nice inhale at the top. Exhale, I'm going to roll on down. We're going to do this about 9 more times. So we're going for a total of 10 here. And I want you to just find the flow through your spine that allows you to articulate and pick each vertebrae up one at a time, and then inhale at the top and place each vertebrae down one at a time. So you aren't lifting full sections of your spine in a flat position. So just roll the pelvis, peel up one bone at a time, bringing your shoulders and your knees in a diagonal line. So I'm not going to overextend and arch my upper back here. I'm going to keep my ribs closed and then lower down bone by bone. We have another 7. So inhale, exhale, imprint. Let's pick it up on these next 7. Inhaling at the top, exhaling, rolling down, making sure my knees stay in alignment with my hips. So as I roll up, I'm not allowing my knees to separate from one another, but keeping them in one long line. Let's go for our last 4. And down. And 3. And down. Almost feeling like at the top here, you're pulling your heels towards your shoulders. So feeling like you can almost lengthen the knees away from you and pull the heels towards your shoulders. But keeping that tuck of the pelvis, we're going to hold this last one up at the top. So we lift off, we hold here. And now from here, I want you to focus a little bit more work, a little bit more energy through that left foot, pressing that left foot into the floor with a little bit more strength. And now from here, I want you to imagine that you have headlights on your hip bones, and they're almost like a car. You're going to veer towards the right side of the road and allow your hips to drop towards that right side and then lift back up. We're going to do this right side a total of 8 times before we do the left. So we drop the right hip, just allowing it to sink back, and then squeeze behind with that glute and hamstring, bring the hips back to being square towards the ceiling. Veering towards the right, and then lifting back up, keeping that left hip lifted, only allowing the right side to drop and lift back up. Let's go for 4, and up, and 3, 2, and 1, up. Now find more energy through that right side. Squeeze that right glute hamstring. We're almost there. And we're going to veer towards the left side now. So let that left hip drop and then exhale. Squeeze that left glute hamstring. Come back to the center. Are your knees beginning to drift away from one another? Bring them back into alignment with the hips. And then drop the left hip and then press back up. Let's go for 6 and up. 5 and 4. 3, 2, and 1. Very good. Roll on down. Let's hug those knees into the chest one at a time and just gently rock from side to side. Excellent work. So let's maybe get into a little extra fun abdominal series here. So always the option, if you feel like I'm keeping us up in a chest lift for too long, you can bring your head down and still do the exercise with your legs and your arms. The only request that I have is that you keep contact with your low back. So what I mean is, like, you can see right now how I can't fit my hand underneath my back at all. So if we're in this position out here and I'm asking you to be in a chest lift, you can put your head down, but just make sure you don't lose your back. Keep it connected to your mat. So with that, let's come into our chest lifts. Bring one foot to the floor. Let's bring the other foot to the floor. And now from here, interlace the hands behind the head. So the hands are almost being held at the nape of the neck. My elbows are in my peripheral vision. And now from here, I'm keeping the natural curve of my lower back. I'm going to draw my belly button in and down, imprint, and let's exhale, lift the head, neck, and chest, bringing the gaze to the knees. Take a nice inhale at the top. Exhale, let's lower back down. We're going to do 4 more of those. So we inhale, exhale, lifting the head, neck, and chest up. Inhale at the top. Exhale, lower back down. Let's go for inhale. Exhale, lift. Inhale at the top. Exhale, lower down. Last 2. Exhale, up. Inhale at the top, lower back down. Inhale, exhale, lift. Let's hold up from here. Bring the hands behind the thighs. And now we're going to untuck that pelvis. So I just want you to release back into that neutral position. So find the natural curve of the low back. So maybe just like 2 fingertips or 1 fingertip can fit underneath. But I want you to bend the elbows out to the side, press them into your thighs to curl those shoulder tip blades a little bit higher. Get those shoulder blades up off the mat. Come on, bring the gaze of your eyes to the knees and lift a little bit higher, a little bit higher. Keep those feet on the floor, a little bit higher. Float the arms off. Let's hold for 8, 7. Keep those shoulder tip blades off. Maybe bring the hands behind the knees so you can lift back up. Let's go for 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Lower back down. Take the palms, interlace the fingers, flip the palms towards the ceiling. Take those arms by the ears. Allow your ribs to pop, the backside of your ribs to pop off. Get a nice stretch here. So, always the option to come back to that if whatever variation we go on to just doesn't want to work with your body for today. Always the option to just rewind and check in with what I previously did. But let's go ahead. Let's come back and do some more chest lifts. So interlace those hands behind that head. Elbows come into my peripheral vision. As I do so, I think of wrapping from the backside of my rib all the way through the tricep so I can open up my back and close and squish my ribs down to the mat. Now from here, take a nice inhale, exhale, come into your chest lift. Now from here, I want you to bring your right leg up into tabletop. So my shin is parallel to the floor and my hip is at 90 degrees. I'm going to keep my knee at 90 degrees. I'm not going to bend or lower my shin, but I'm going to hinge in the hip, tap the toe, and then lift back up. Let's go for another 4. Keeping those head, neck, and shoulders up off the mat. You tap down and lift off. Let's go for 3. And up, 2, and up. Last 1. Bring that foot down. Let's go for the left. So lifting that left leg up, try to get those shoulder dip blades, and let's tap for 5, and up, 4, and 3, 2, and 1. From there, let's bring the left leg up to match the right leg. Bring those hands behind the thighs and curl those shoulders up a little bit higher. Maybe bring your gaze from your knees all the way down to your belly button so you can lift up a little bit higher, lengthening the crown of the head up towards the ceiling. And now from here, I want you to go ahead, release the right leg, tap the right toe down, and then bring that right leg up. Bring the hand behind. Let's tap the left leg down. Bring the hand behind the knee, release the right hand, tap the right leg, and lift up. Let's go to the left side. Now you can either stick with this, bring the hand, or bring the hands behind the head, tap one foot down, then tap the other foot down. Always the option to bring the head down as you do this. But let's say we have our last 2, 2, and 1, and 1. Hug the knees into the chest, hands on top of the shins. Let's go ahead, let's roll over onto our side. So from here, I want you to come back, bring your hands into that chest lift position. And then I have my knees pointing forward and I'm gonna tuck my heels in so they're in alignment with my glutes and my hips and my shoulders. So from here, I'm really just trying to square my shoulders and my hips to my computer. And now from here, it's almost like my forearms are a book and I'm going to open and close the book. So I'm following my eyes with my top elbow and I'm just going to open up as far as my range of motion will allow me. And then from there, I will exhale, following my elbow with my eyes with my elbow as I close the book. So I'm going to open the book, looking towards the left, and close the book, keeping the eyes and the elbow connected together. Let's go for another 3. So as I do this, I'm also focusing on what my bottom elbow is doing. So as I open, I'm almost thinking my bottom elbow is lengthening towards my computer, and I'm letting that top elbow lengthen away. And last 1. Now from here, go ahead, keep that bottom arm where it is, extend that top arm, and now what I want you to do is you're going to begin with your shoulders stacked here, and then from here, you're going to slide that arm forward, rotate the shoulder forward, and then pull the shoulder back. And rotate the shoulder forward, and pull the shoulder back. We're going to do that 2 more times. So just warming up this thoracic rotation here. Reach the fingertips forward, and then reach the fingertips back. Go ahead, stack the elbows, stack the shoulders. We're going to go to the other side, but we're going to do this fun transition. So I want you to open the book up, try to bring that left elbow towards the floor. Now from here, press that opposite elbow, rotate the knees around the spine, and we'll go to the other side. If you fell off your mat like I just did, go ahead, scoot yourself back towards the center, interlace the hands behind the head, and then you're starting here, elbows together, heels are in alignment with the hips, and then from here, we'll begin by opening the shoulders, hello, and then closing the shoulders. We're going to do this 4 more times. So following the elbow with the eyes, and you can see here, I really have my heels in alignment with my hips, and I'm almost trying to reach the backside of my shoulder to the floor, but not forcing it, just allowing gravity to help me here. And then I will close. Let's go for our last 2. And 1, we open out. From here, I want you to take the palms towards the ceiling and then pivot. Bring your knees towards the sky, feet flat on the floor. We're gonna come into rotations like we just did, but now with our legs. So from here, nice neutral back, palms towards the ceiling. Bring that right leg up into tabletop. Bring the left leg up into tabletop. Now from here, we're going to inhale, rotate towards one side. I'm keeping the back of my shoulder tip connected to the mat, so I'm not going to drop and allow my shoulder to come off and allow my arm to leave the floor. But I'm going to only work within a range of motion where I can keep the back of my shoulder blade connected to the mat and then use my obliques to inhale over, exhale, rotate back into the center. Let's go for flow on the next 4. So we inhale over, exhale to the center. Really think of using the waist, using those obliques to come back to the center. Let's go over for inhale. Exhale, pressing that elbow gently into the floor to get a little extra activation through that thoracic spine, through the waist. We have our last 2. Inhaling over and 2. Last 1. And last 1, inhaling over. Let's come back to the center now. Hug the knees in. Let's roll on up. And now from here, we're going to come into a little variation on that. So kind of like what we just did, but now sitting up in a straight back position. So from here, I'm going to reach my arms behind me, and I'm going to scoop and round. So I'm going to tuck my pelvis to where I'm balanced just a little bit beyond my sacrum. So sitting up nice and tall to begin with. I want you to scoop and round that low back. And then I want you to rock back to where you find this balance point. We all have it a different point in our tailbone where we can rock back. And the weight between the balance between our shoulders and our knees is rather similar. So from here, keep that scoop where you are, reach the arms behind you, and press those hands into the floor. We're going to bring that right leg up into tabletop. Now from here, extend that leg out and fold in. So I'm keeping myself, my tailbone, anchored just past, away from my balance point. So I'm back here in my pelvis where I could almost let go of my arms and keep my torso lifted. Folding in and out. Now from here, I want you to go ahead, circle that leg out to the side and back up. Circling out to the side and back up, out to the side, up, and then let's reverse. So out and then coming in, down, out and in, out and up, and down, out and up. Let's go to the other side now. So bringing that leg to the floor, adjusting yourself. So giving yourself a moment to untuck the pelvis and then draw that belly button, rock your sacrum past that balance point. So our weight's more in our hands now. And then bring that left leg up. We extend it out and fold in. We're gonna do 2 more, extending out and folding in. Very good, extending out. I'm almost thinking of pressing my foot long as if I was stepping on a gas pedal. Now from here, I'm gonna lower the leg out and around towards the center. And let's go for another 4 and 3. Working within a range of motion where I don't have too much movement through my supporting knee. So I'm not letting my other knee rock and roll around. I'm keeping it nice and pointed towards the ceiling. Let's reverse for 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Go ahead, bring that left foot down. Let's take a little moment. Extend, scooping back. Now from here, let's go ahead, let's bring the right leg up and bring that left leg up. So both legs together. So I really have to think, I'm drawing and scooping with my low abdominals to rock and tuck my pelvis back. So bringing those feet in, let's find that position. So beginning, draw that belly button in, tuck the pelvis. And now from here, I'm gonna bring one leg up. My weight is in my hands. I bring the other leg up and I'm going to rock my pelvis back, tuck my tailbone. Now from here, I'm going to think I'm drawing little circles with my knees. I'm gonna go to the right and away, out, center, to the left, out, away, out, center, kind of like what we were just doing, taking our knees side to side, laying on our back. If this is too much for the front of your hips, or this does not feel, you don't feel this in your low abs, you can always go back to doing what we did before this. We have 2 more each side. So we have 2 and 2. Last one, inhale over, exhale around, up. It's almost like I'm drawing circles with my knees. Very good, hug the knees and lower yourself down. That's our last little bit of that series. Go ahead, bring your feet flat to the floor. So a riff off of that kind of plays into getting a little bit of a hip flexor stretch. We're gonna bring those feet flat to the floor, hands reaching for those heels. And we're going to come back into our imprint, back into our bridging. So we take an inhale, exhale. Let's lift those hips back up. Now from here, I want you to keep your toes connected. Let's lift that right heel up. And now, I want you to keep that heel lifted. We're gonna come back into that rotation that we did earlier. So we dropped that right hip, and then I want you to think you're squeezing through that glute hamstring and connecting it to your toes as you lift that hip back up. So we dropped the right hip and press back up through the toes to lift that hip. Keeping the left hip nice and elevated. We just rotate the pelvis. Dropping the right hip, lifting back up. One more like that. And then a variation from that. We're gonna do 5 more. So you can either stick with that or join me. Bring that right leg up into tabletop. Extend the foot up to the ceiling. Use those abs that we just found. And I want you to drop your right hip, taking your right leg to the right, and then exhale, come back to the center. As you do this, make sure that your left knee doesn't begin drifting all over the place. Keep it reaching out nice and long. You just rotate the pelvis and exhale with those obliques and those low abdominals. Last 2 and 1. Through tabletop, bring the foot down, press the hips a little higher. Inhale at the top, exhale, let's roll on down. Let's do the other side. So we inhale, exhale, pull the belly button down, imprint the low back, reach those hips towards the sky. And now from here, keep your toes connected to the mat, lift the left heel up. And now from here, veering the hips to the left side of the road. We drop the left hip, keep that right hip elevated up. And then from there, squeeze, press those left toes into the mat. We drop the left hip, keeping the hip knees nice and still, and then squeeze, press those left toes into the mat. We have 5 more, or 3 more, total of 5 here. Last 2. And 1. Now you can either stick with that for 5 more or join me. Bring that left leg into tabletop. Extend the foot towards the ceiling. We inhale. Veer the hips towards the left side of the road. Exhale. Use those obliques. Come back to the center. Inhaling over. Exhale. Come back to the center. Last 3. And 2. 1. Left leg through tabletop. Press those hips a little bit higher. Roll on down. Excellent work. Let's roll on over to our side. So legs out nice and long. And I want you to come up onto that bottom elbow. So from here, we're just going to do a little bit of side work, as this whole class is our side series. So rotation through your side body, a full body workout. So I want you to just begin by slouching into this bottom elbow and bottom shoulder. You can see I have shortened the distance between my earlobe and my shoulder, and I'm really crunching on my neck here. This is not a good position to be in. So I want you to begin by stacking the ankles and the knees and the hips. And then I want you to take your fingertips, bring them underneath your armpit, and feel like you can almost squeeze those muscles underneath the armpit. From this point, I want you to push your elbow into the floor. As you do that, you can see I've lengthened the distance between my shoulder and my ear. So this is my stability to keep me from keeping the work out of my neck. I'm trying to really focus. The pressure comes from underneath my armpit. At the same time, I'm taking my bottom ribs. Go ahead with me. Take your top arm, bring it underneath those bottom ribs and pull them away from your mat. So your bottom obliques have to work here to support the bottom structure in this exercise. Go ahead, bring that top arm to the mat, and then let's lift that top leg up. So we lower it back down and lift back up. The tendency here is to drop into those bottom ribs. Keep them lifted. Use those bottom obliques. Use that bottom armpit. We lift up and lower it down. Let's go for 7 and 6. Thinking of lengthening the leg out. It's almost like your friend is pulling you by the ankle and they're trying to drag you across the room. Last 3 and 2 and 1. Now from here, I want you to go ahead, keep that leg lifted, just a little external rotation. And let's swing that leg forward with the kick and back with the kick. If you want a little extra stability here, go ahead, bend that bottom knee in at 90 degrees. We'll give you a little extra balance. We kick forward and kick back, kick forward, kick back. As I go back, I'm letting my top hip a little rotation in so I don't open my pelvis and drop my leg. And if you want the challenge, keep that bottom leg long. We have for 6, 6, 6, 6, 5, 5, ka, 4, 4. Pull the waistband up. Last 3, 3. Waistband up. And 2, 2, 2, 2. And 1, 1, 1, 1. Keep the legs out long. Did you drop your bottom ribs? I know I did. Check in with that elbow. Lift that top leg up. And now bring the bottom leg up. Clap those legs for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6. Don't collapse. I lost count. 3, 2, and 1. Go ahead, lengthen that bottom arm out. I want you to take your top leg, bring it into the 90 degrees, rotate your pelvis forward so you can get your knee down onto the floor. And then with that bottom leg, externally rotate it so the leg is parallel to the floor. Let's lift that leg up and lower it back down. And we'll go for 10 and down, 9. Almost thinking again, someone's pulling your leg. They're trying to drag you across the room. That's how far you lengthen that big toe out, squeezing from that inner thigh. Let's go for last 5 and 4, 3 and 2. Very good. Last one. Hold it up. We kick up for 10 and 9 and 8. A little pulses towards the ceiling for 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Go ahead, hug your knees in. I want your heels in alignment with your glutes, knees pointing forward, coming back up to that bottom elbow, pressing the elbow into the floor from this underneath structure, and lengthen that hip so that top hip lengthens towards the heels. At the same time, use those bottom obliques to pull those ribs away from the floor. Press your inner thighs together, and let's lift those hips up. I need to adjust my elbow out a little bit further. You may need to, because we're here in our side plank. So if you want, you can stay here in your side plank. This is perfectly acceptable. You're drawing those ribs away. If you want to make it a little bit more challenging, you can extend that top leg. Don't worry, I am counting. We have just passed 20. Or you can bring that top leg down and step that bottom leg out so you are in a full side plank. Let's hold for our last 15, 14, 13, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5. Really squeeze. 4, 3, 2. Bring that bottom knee down gently. Bring the bottom foot forward. Fold the top shin in. And just bring yourself up for a nice little mermaid stretch. If this is crunchy on your hip, you can just sit crisscross applesauce. But we're doing our mermaid stretch, so I'm gonna bring my hand to my knee, gentle pressure into that hand in the mat, and I'm just gonna get a nice stretch by lengthening that arm up, all through that side that we just worked. Oh. Go ahead, bring the hand down, square the shoulders off to the mat, and rotate. And very quickly, we shall do the other side. So swing those legs around, beginning with the legs long, making sure everything is stuck, pressing the elbow from underneath here, keeping that support out of the neck. Take that top arm, bring it into those bottom ribs, lift those bottom ribs away from the mat with those obliques here. And now from here, let's lift that top leg up and lower it down. Be lifting up. And we're lifting by thinking of lengthening the toes all the way across the room. Very nice. And down. Let's go for 6 and 5. 4. You can see I'm really trying to keep my pelvis still here and my box are my hips and my shoulders. There's no movement here. The only lift comes from those glutes. And down. We have our last 2. And 1. From here, go ahead. Tiny little external rotation. Swing the leg, kick, kick, and back and kick, kick. Forward, kick, kick. Let the top hip rotate forward so you don't overly open your pelvis and drop the foot. Kick, kick, and kick, kick. Last 6, 6. Kick, kick, and don't drop the ribs, ribs. Kick, kick. Last 4, 4, 4, 4, and 3, 3, 3, 3. You can see my leg is dropping, dropping, because it's tiring, tiring, but you're doing great, great. Last 1, 1. Go ahead, bring that top leg in alignment with the bottom leg. Lift both legs up. We clap for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5. Clap those feet. 4, 3. Don't drop into your shoulder like I am. 2, 1. Go ahead. Hug your legs in. Bring that top leg forwards. Extend that bottom leg. So we're nice at that 90-degree angle. Slightly rotated forward. Externally rotate that foot so it's parallel to the floor. We lift up and down. Last 9. And 8. Really try to keep the pelvis still here. Our box is still. It's not moving as we lift the leg up. We're using the inner thigh. And down. Last 6. And 5. And 4. 3. And 2. Holding up 10 little pulses for 10. 9. I don't know if I did this on the other side, so maybe if I didn't, go back and do it again. Last 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Bring those knees in alignment with the glutes. Coming back to that bottom forearm. Draw those ribs away, press the elbow into the mat, lengthen that top hip towards the heels, press the inner thighs together, and let's lift off. Holding our side plank, either holding here, make sure your hips are forward and square, don't leave the bottom hip behind. If you want to make it more challenging, extend that top leg. And we have just passed the 25 mark. Maybe bring that foot down and hold a fold side plank. And we have 20, 19, 18, 17, holding, squeezing. 9, 8, 7. I probably counted wrong. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Bring that bottom knee down. Bring that bottom shin forward. Folding that top shin in, sitting the hip back, bringing the hand to the shin, getting a good stretch. Always the option to sit crisscross applesauce. Windmill the arms, stretching up and over. Go ahead and rotate the shoulders to your mat. Allowing yourself to fold across that bottom leg. And from there, go ahead. I'm going to say thank you, everyone. I would encourage a little bit more stretching after that very hard workout. But thank you all for joining me and joining Studio Blue. And I hope to see you all in class soon, or as soon as we possibly can. Until then, just continue doing whatever best works for your health and your happiness. And I hope to see you all very soon, either in class here or either in the studio. Thank you all so much. Have a great day.